Before you even approach the pool table, it's a good idea to become familiar with your equipment. In the case of pool and billiards, only a small amount of equipment is needed for the average player. The primary piece of equipment is the cue stick. The cue stick is comprised of several parts. The back half is called the butt, while the thinner end is called the shaft. The shaft tapers down towards the tip, where a small rounded piece of leather is attached. Although you will encounter many different lengths of cue sticks, the standard length is roughly 58 inches. A cue of this length should be appropriate for most players. Another thing that you might notice is that some cues have a joint in the middle. Commonly referred to as a two-piece cue, these cues are easy to transport and are ideal for players who enjoy having their own equipment. When using a cue stick for the first time, it's a good idea to ensure that it's straight. This can be achieved by looking down the length of the cue. A slight rotation will allow you to inspect the cue from all angles. Rolling the cue stick flat on the bed of the table is another way of doing this. One of the many factors a player must consider when selecting a first cue is what weight to choose. Typically, cues weigh between 17 and 21 ounces. Although the weight of the cue is a matter of preference, it is recommended that you choose a weight that is proportionate to your physical build. A small player should generally choose a lighter cue stick, while a larger player should choose a heavier cue stick. Another important consideration is the type of cue stick. For example, if you're playing 8-ball or 9-ball, you'll generally want a cue with a tip that's around 13 millimeters wide. The shafts of these cues are generally made of hard rock maple. In contrast, if you're playing snooker, the width of the cue tip will be significantly smaller, usually 9.5 millimeters wide. A shorter brass ferrule will hold it on, while the shaft will be made of ash wood. Although most cues can be purchased for under $300, there are a few factors that can increase the cost. High-end cues tend to be made from a superior grade of wood that has a very tight and straight grain pattern. Some cues also feature fancy inlays on the butt end of the cue that are often made from exotic woods and materials. The taper point of the shaft also changes when you step up to a higher quality cue. Whereas a generic cue will begin to taper anywhere from 6 to 10 inches from the tip, an expensive cue won't begin to taper until 12 to 18 inches. A taper farther up the shaft helps to keep a consistent and smooth stroke. As you become more familiar with your cue, a time will come when you'll want to upgrade to something of higher quality. At this point, take the time to learn the difference between the types of tips, ferrules, wraps, and joints. These subtle features are important for advanced players and should be carefully considered.